Okay, welcome back everyone to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
So today we're doing something a bit different. We're looking at source material about a specific event, reported missile strikes.
Right, and the source material is actually very specific. It's an article title,
Just the title.
just the title. Iran's missile strikes on Tel Aviv. That's our source for today.
Got it. Okay, so our goal then is to really unpack what this specific source, this title alone tells us. What does it signal about the reported strikes?
Exactly. It's a deep dive into how something is framed right from the very first words you see.
And what jumps out immediately is just how direct it is.
Oh, absolutely. Iran's missile strikes on Tel Aviv. It names the actor Iran, the action missile strikes. And the target, Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
Very clear.
No room for interpretation there, it seems. So the first thing this tells us, just by existing, is that someone is reporting on this. It's significant enough to get a headline.
And not just any headline, a really assertive one. That framing is, well, it's powerful.
Yeah, because it doesn't say alleged Iranian strikes or reports of strikes on Tel Aviv.
Precisely. It drops the qualifiers. By titling it this way, the source is presenting the action and attribution as, well, seemingly confirmed within the context of that article.
So the title itself is doing a lot of work. It's setting the stage, framing the event with a high degree of certainty before you even read paragraph 1.
It really is. It shapes your initial understanding. The title becomes the primary piece of data we are analyzing right now. It signals that the article it belongs to likely presents evidence supporting this direct claim.
Okay, so focusing just on this title as our source, it tells us a report exists, and it frames the event assertively. Iran missile strikes Tel Aviv, presented as fact.
That's the core takeaway from this specific piece of source material. The existence and the exact wording of that title. It tells you what is being reported and how with apparent certainty.
It makes you think, doesn't it? When you see a headline that definitive, especially about major international alliance.
It really does. It highlights the influence of headlines. Often that's all people see, right? And a title like this one makes such a clear assertion. It immediately sets expectations about the article's content. And, it prompts questions about the information behind that headline. What allows for that level of confidence?
So the language chosen, just those few words, can really steer the narrative from the get-go.
Absolutely. It carries a lot of weight. It encourages you, the reader, or in this case, us as analysts, to look critically at that upfront claim.
So from this single source, the title, we understand the events being reported with a very specific, very assertive stance.
Yes, the complete picture provided by our source material for this deep dive is contained in those words, Iran's missile strikes on Tel Aviv.
So thinking about that, knowing a report exists with such a direct title, what questions does that raise for you, listening in, about how significant events get presented?
Well, it pushes you to consider the level of certainty a headline conveys, doesn't it? What does that specific phrasing imply about the evidence within the article?
Right. Does it claim certainty that perhaps the full situation doesn't yet warrant, or does it reflect solid proof presented inside? The title doesn't tell us that.
Exactly. It makes you think about the impact of framing, the power of that initial presentation, and maybe the need to look beyond the headline.
Definitely makes you think about the power dynamics in how information is titled and released.
A crucial first step in understanding any event.
Well, thank you for joining us on this slightly unusual deep dive into what just a single source title can reveal.
Always interesting to focus on the fundamentals.
Indeed. We'll see you next time.